So welcome to Close the Loop and Light It Up with Dashboard Extensions. We are really happy to be here with you on stage. And I know it's Thursday, it's the last day, so thank you all for coming today. Before we get started, I would like to introduce my colleague, Xavier, or Xavier, if you want with a French accent. And I didn't know much about Xavier when we started working on the presentation. So as any millennium, what I did some research. I went on Google. I was like, wow, I'm presenting with a model. That's so cool. I'm like, that's really cool. But when I look at the picture, I realized that actually it was a girl from the Netherlands, and not Xavier. But it's actually a model, but for Tableau. Have you seen this picture before? It's him. He's on the website, everywhere. But what he likes in his free times is actually being behind the camera, taking pictures. And he's also a software engineer at Tableau. He didn't do one internship before joining Tableau, but two before deciding, OK, I love Tableau, I'm joining Tableau now. And he joined the Tableau teams in January. And he's working on Extension API, and he's one of the brands that developed Extension API. It's thanks to him that we can use Extension API today. So I'm really happy to be on stage with him today.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that introduction. Now, I'm sure all of you noticed Gigi's accent, and I'm sure some of you might think that she's from France, the same way that I did, or maybe you thought she's from New Orleans. But it's actually not the case. In the same way that I'm not a model, Gigi's actually not from France. She was born in a small but really beautiful island off the coast of East Africa called Mauritius. I'd actually never heard of it before meeting Gigi, but I did my research, my Googling as well, and saw how beautiful it was. And Gigi tells me it's a great place to go on boat trips to small deserted islands and have picnics. So now it's definitely one of my most desired vacation destinations, so thank you for that. But in addition to being from Mauritius, Gigi is also a product consultant at Tableau. And as a product consultant, over the past 2 years, Gigi has helped tons of customers overcome technical challenges that they or their company face when they first adopt Tableau. But with the recent release and development of extensions, that's where she's put all of her focus. She's really developed a passion for extensions. And she's actually become the go-to person in the EMEA pre-sales area for extensions. She's aided in the adoption of the use of extensions within multiple companies, and her teammates even refer to her as Extension Queen or T-Rex Girl. And T-Rex Girl might make more sense later if it doesn't now. But I think it's safe to say we're in good hands, so why don't we get started? What are we going to learn over the next hour?
Good questions. We have some goals for you. We have 1 hour with you. So we set some goals. The first one is at the end of the session, you will be able to find extensions. No need for Googling this time. You will have the safe website where you can go and get extensions. You will also know how to use extension on your Tableau desktop or online and server. You will be able to use it with your own data on your dashboards. And then we will cover what is actually an extension, what is under the hood of Extension API. It's quite a lot to cover. Are you excited? Woo! Yeah. But it's only 1 hour. It's quite a lot. Xavier, how are we going to cover that in 1 hour?
So we're going to reach these goals by answering 5 main questions. First, what are dashboard extensions? Pretty important question to answer. Next, why would I want to use one? And with that, we'll also show you some demos. And then we'll also touch on maybe when you don't want to use one, when it's not exactly the right use case. From there, we'll move on to how do they work. But in this session, we're not actually going to go too deep into building an extension or what goes into making one. We're just going to give an overview of what it really is and how it works on the surface level. If you are interested in that, there are other sessions that go into that. And you can also check out our GitHub where there's a tutorial on building extensions. From there, we'll move on to security. Are they secure? Is my data safe? And then finally, once all of those questions are answered, how can I start using them right now? And then at the end, of course, we'll leave some time for Q&A. But before I jump into answering all of these questions, I want to take a second to talk about the other integrations we have, because if you're interested in extensions, you might also be interested in these. So embedded analytics allows you to embed visualizations in other web pages. Extensions, which we'll talk about today, allows you to integrate web applications into your dashboard. Data connectivity allows you to take different kinds of data from different data sources, even the web, and feed that right into Tableau. Data science, that's things like integration with R and Python. And finally, automation, that allows you to automate Tableau and insert it into automated workflows that you may already have. But with that, let's get started. What are dashboard extensions? So if you want a really simple analogy and you've seen the movie Avengers Infinity War, extensions are basically like the Infinity Gauntlet for your dashboard. If you haven't seen Infinity War, you should probably go see it. And two, that's Thanos. And he's staring at the Infinity Gauntlet on his hand. And he's looking at it because he knows that it makes him way more powerful than he was before. And that's what extensions do for your dashboard. They make it way more powerful than it was before. But that doesn't exactly answer what they are. So if you take a look at that dashboard, that little section closed in the orange box is an extension. And what that is a web app that's running in the dashboard. But it's more than just dropping a web app into the dashboard. Because if you just take a web app, drop that in the dashboard, that's pretty cool. It's convenient. Maybe you had some application that you used in conjunction with Tableau, and now it's right inside of Tableau. But what really makes it special, and what actually makes it an extension of your dashboard, is the fact that there's two-way communication. So the web app, the extension, can communicate with the dashboard, and the dashboard can communicate back. It can do things like get data, apply filters, change parameters, all kinds of things like that with your dashboard. And all this new interactivity really opens up an entirely new world of possibilities for features. Many of those features are features that you have been asking us to build into the product for years. And some of them are entirely new and really creative ideas that wouldn't be possible at all without the extensions API and extension developers and Tableau users. If anybody was at the hackathon on Monday, you may have seen somebody created a Pac-Man game in Tableau using the extensions API. So there's really a lot of stuff that you can do. So hopefully that gives a basic understanding of what they are. A web app in your dashboard, two-way communication. So now that you understand what they are, you're probably wondering, how could this be useful to me? So Gigi, when would I use extensions?
Good question, Xavier. When should you use extensions? We understood that extension is a web application communicating both ways to the dashboards. So when should we use it? I worked with multiple customers, and I categorize them in two different categories. The first one is when you want to close the loop, meaning that every time you have to jump from your dashboard to another applications. Every time you have to leave Tableau, now you can embed it in your dashboard, making your dashboard in real applications. You don't have to jump from one application to your desktop or your server. The most common one, for example, is write back. You see you have some underlying data or outlier that you want to exclude from your data. Instead of going back to the data source, you can exclude them directly from your data using extension API. Or if you have user entry and someone made a mistake, you can fix it and write back to the database using extension API. The second category is light it up. Some visualization can be challenging or hard to make in Tableau. Then you can use custom UI and extensions to build your custom visualizations. And if you want to integrate your Salesforce or ServiceNow, for example, of your applications, then you can do it with extension and really making your dashboard an application at itself. Now that we saw a lot of use cases, I think it's time for demo. How many of you try to build a Sankey diagram? Keep your hands up. How many liked the experience? Okay.
One?
Oh, one.
Okay.
I need to talk to you again. How did you feel when you had to build this Sankey diagram? You felt like, okay, it's challenging. I have to read all these blog posts, watch all these YouTube videos to understand how to build it. It took you some hours, maybe days. And you felt like, sad. Like this baby. And at Tableau, we don't want you to feel like that. What if I tell you that you can have a Sankey diagram in Show Me, but show me more? Let's see that in action. It's thanks to this story, info topic story, that made it possible. So before getting started, I need to tell you about my promotion. Did you know about my promotion? I just get manager of my pre-sales team in London. So I have this dashboard. I can see my team, who are they, when they're working on. So I can see project assigned by person, time they are spending on the project. But what I really want to get from this dashboard is to know who is working on what, which project is taking the most of the time of my team. And I think here I want to do a Sankey diagram. But I don't have time to watch these YouTube videos. So I'm going to drag and drop extension. You see, is a new object in your desktop. Drag and drop it. We are going to talk later on the extension gallery, but I have the extension on my desktop. So I'm going to my extension and have Show Me More. Now I need to configure it. And you remember we said that the dashboard is talking to the extension. So it's why we see the different names of the worksheets. I want to analyze this one per status. Project status, Sankey diagram. I select my dimension, so I want assign, and I want the project as well. And the measures that I am interested in is the duration of the project. I think I'm ready to go. And you have tooltips as well. I can see that Ariane has a big project. But I can see as well, like, Tony is not doing a lot of work. Let's see what he gets, if he's getting in trouble or not. Now, you got time back on your day. You can do something else instead of watching YouTube videos. Watch different YouTube videos and how to create a Sankey diagram. But you felt like you achieved something. And what about right back? If we talk about right back in Tableau, we can say, okay, you can use JavaScript API, you can embed it in your portal. Doesn't make sense for a lot of people I know. So you're like, okay, embedding in the portal JavaScript. What is that? I don't like it. I feel sad again. But thanks to extensions and expand IT, you can write back to your data source. Let's see that in action again. So I'm done. I know who is working and who is not working. Now I have the other dashboards, and here in the middle is an extension, the write back by Expand IT. So I see that this project is pretty big, and I don't want Ariane to work on it by herself. So I can select it. I can see that it's late. I can see the underlying data. And I want Tony to work on it. So I'm editing it, and I'm assigning Tony to the project. So you see he has only 2 projects here, and I'm sending the data to the data source. Now, Tony has the project gift, and you can see that now he has 3 projects. Tony has work, yes! And I feel better, I wrote back to my database. I didn't have to write any sort of code or embed. I'm very happy. And how many of you are you working in retail or human resource? Do you have some? Some of you. You have different images, you have different projects. You have project ABC, and you have person ABC. You don't really know who are they or which project they are. But you have this image URL in your database, and you want to display the image. And right now, if you do it in Tableau, you can use custom shapes, or it's not really straightforward, let's put it this way. But you really want to see all your images. And again, that makes you a sad baby. But thanks to Extension API and image viewer from Information Labs, you can now display images. Let's go back to my promotion. So now I know that Tony has some trouble at work, but I don't know Tony. So I want to see his picture. I'm selecting an extension, the Information Lab one. So that's the pop-up security that we are going to talk about later, so just remember it for now. I have this pop-up. I can configure my extension. So I want it at the mark selection, so the action on the dashboard. And I want to read from the project by owner worksheet. I have the image URL here as a dimension on this worksheet. I can add some toolbars, nav bars. And let's see, where is Tony? That's Tony. So now I can go and talk to him. I can also select all of them and see who are they. So now I know my team, and when I'm going to see them in the office, I know they are under me now. I can select more, 2 if I want. I can select as many as I want. So now I can talk to Tony. Just as a side joke, he's actually my big boss. So if you see him around, just say I did great, and don't talk about the demo, please. So here, you are feeling great. You see your images. You know you are talking about the same thing again. And the last one, and the best one for me, is.
So we're going to start off this final demo with some customer quotes. Ivan would like to reduce manual analysis. Arcana G wants to create instant value from her dashboard. And Pauline S wants to increase the adoption of Tableau in her organization. And how do you do that? You do that by creating more valuable dashboards where you can extract instant value and do less analysis. And they're all feeling pretty sad because they can't do it currently. But thanks to narrative science and the narrative for Tableau extension, they don't have to feel like a sad baby for too long.
Let's forget about Tony.
Okay, so here I'm just going to double click to add the extension. And choose narratives for Tableau. I'm going to allow it. And I think we want to look at shipping trends. Let's go ahead and go with continuous. That's even the recommendation here. And just like that, we have a complete narrative of this trend above. So without any manual analysis on my part, I can send this out to anybody, and they know exactly what's going on with this visualization. I can even come in here. If this is maybe too wordy for me, that was pretty wordy, make it a little less verbose. It's a little bit better. Let's take a look at one of these. The average sum of the number of records was 16.57 across all 3 entities and across all 52 periods. Well, entities and periods doesn't really mean much to me. So this should probably be weeks. Well, week and weeks. And this over here should probably be ship status. And ship statuses, if that's proper grammar, I'm not sure. And we can see that updates right there. And then if we want to do even more, we can actually come over here and highlight some of the good changes and the bad changes. And now we've got even more value. And now you feel a lot happier, like that baby. Okay, so we saw some great use cases, some great demos and examples. But Gigi, when would I actually not want to use extensions?
Thanks, Xavier. So yes, you are really excited about extension. I understand. But sometimes you should not use them. Before getting started in the most common use cases, but if you are new to Tableau and you are trying to figure out something in Tableau, doing a calculation or a chart, be sure that you cannot do it in Tableau, or you are really, but maybe it's just something to learn, something new. So be sure that you start by the beginning, by the beginner classes, beginning. But should I create a 3D bar chart with Extension API? You really think twice. If we didn't put 3D bar chart in our product, is the reason why. It's because it's not visual best practice. So we don't want you to go this way, please. And should I create a database with Extension API? No. If you are using Tableau, it means that you already have a database or you have data. So don't try to create a data source using Tableau. Now we saw some pretty cool demos. We understood what is an extension, but what is actually behind the extension? What is under the hood? Xavier, can you tell me more about how extensions work?
Of course I can. Okay. Well, I just said I would explain how extensions work, and then I threw up a giant picture of a dinosaur. Probably doesn't make too much sense, so I'll explain it. Back before I joined the team, they had to come up with a file extension for the extension manifest file. And I'll explain what the manifest file is right after this. But they had to come up with a file extension for the extension manifest file. And if we're just brainstorming right here, it should probably start with a T, right? T for Tableau. We have Twib, Twibex, TDE, TDX, all of those it fits in. And these are Tableau extensions, so let's just tack on an EX at the end, right? Well, there are other existing file types that use that extension. But much more importantly, my team realized that they could just insert an R between the T and the E, and then we could throw dinosaurs all over everything we do for the future. So they did that, and now we do that. But that doesn't explain much about T-Rex. So like I said, that's a file extension for the extension manifest file. And the extension manifest file is just a simple XML file that holds some metadata about the extension. So let's take a look at one. Up there in the blue square, we can see that we have author information. So this is important to point out because whenever you're using an extension, maybe if there's some bug with the extension, or maybe it's just a really awesome extension and you want to reach out to the devs and say, hey, you did a great job, that information is available. And then here in red is the URL for the extension. So like I said, we're not going to go too deep into how extensions really work here. But the way it works is you build an extension. It's a web app. You build it yourself, or somebody else builds it. And then you host it. And then you take the URL from your local server and you insert that into the manifest file. And that's how Tableau knows where to go to find your extension. So when you actually add an extension to a dashboard, what you're doing is selecting the manifest file. And then Tableau reads that manifest file and loads the extension right into the dashboard. Like I said, we're not going to go too deep, but Gigi will give us a peek at some code.
So let's have a look at some code. Like any other web applications, you are using HTML. The only thing to keep in mind when you are working with HTML is that the yellow part is where you are loading the library, the extension library. So that's the first part, and then we have the JavaScript part. In the JavaScript part, you have first to initialize the extension. Say, hello, I'm an extension, I'm ready to be used. And then, once you initialize the extension, you can use namespace. Here, in yellow, we are retrieving the name of the dashboard where the extension is on. But basically, you should remember that Tableau.extension means that, yeah, you are working with extensions. And it's the part that you need to remember mostly. But again, I feel like you are excited about extension. I can see that. But how secure are they? You have some doubts. So Xavier, how secure are extensions?
So the main point I want to get across with extension security is that you should only use extensions that come from a trusted source or that you trust yourself. And the reason for that is because an extension is a web application, and that means that it's vulnerable to all of the regular security vulnerabilities that any web application would be. So things like cross-site scripting or SQL injection that can occur in an extension. So should I use an extension from evilcompany.com? No, clearly not. But it's not always that clear. So if you have sensitive data, definitely don't just download extensions off of Twitter from random people that you don't know. Use your best judgment. But security is very important. So we have built in some security features. The primary thing is permission prompts. So whenever you add an extension to a dashboard, or whenever you open a dashboard that contains an extension, you'll see one of two prompts. The only difference between these prompts is that one says it does not require full data, and one says it does require full data. And the one that does require full data means that this extension is using a certain set of commands that actually accesses your data. It gets back tables, columns, rows, everything like that. And in addition to these permission prompts, so whenever you add an extension, you always have the choice to cancel that if obviously you don't want this extension to access all of your data. And in addition to the permission prompts, we also have site and server level security settings. So you can blocklist extensions completely from your server. So if you have an extension that you know you don't want anybody to use, you can block that completely. You can also safe list extensions. So if you have one that's good that you know it's safe for everybody to use, you can safe list that. You can also completely disable extensions and set some default behavior for the permission prompts as well. So the only case in which you don't see a permission prompt is if your server admin has gone in and disabled permission prompts. And the reason for that might be if you have some known extensions that you know are OK to use, and you just want to save time by not clicking allow every single time. So you're probably wondering where you could find some safe extensions that are trustworthy. And Gigi typically knows the best places. So where could I find those?
I always know good places. Where can you find extensions? So now you are wondering, OK, I'm ready to use extension, but I don't have any extension. But we have you covered. We have a gallery so that you can access. So we have the link, but you can also access it from your desktop. I'm going to show you how. So if we go back to our dashboards, I just start with the Sankey diagram one. I close it. I want to use extension. I drag and drop again. But instead of going to my extension, because I already downloaded the T-Rex file, I'm going to extension gallery. I have extension for dashboards. And I can see all the extensions that partners or people from Tableau build. And if you're interested, let's pick, we talked about the data-driven parameter. Apparently it's a good one. I can download it here. We will need your email address and your password. And then you see you have a T-Rex file, and you are ready to use it on your dashboard just by dragging and dropping again. So you can go today to the gallery to get extension that you're interested in. And it's only extension that we selected and partners that we trust. So you can go and get started with extension today. So extension is already awesome. But what is coming next? We announced yesterday the transparency. Did you see the Sankey diagram that we used? What if you have a background, an image background? You don't want the white background. You want it to be transparent. We are going to introduce also show and hide. If you don't want to see the extension, but you still want to use the functionality of extension on your dashboards, you can hide extension in your dashboards. And the last one, I don't know if you already tried today, to print a dashboard as a PDF or PNG, but the extensions is not showing right now. So we are introducing as well the printing part. So you can see extension when you are exporting as a PNG or a PDF. So I hope you enjoy our sessions and that we covered all the goals today. We understood that extension is a web application communicating both ways, from the dashboard to the extension, and the extension to the dashboard. We also saw that we used extension to light it up your dashboards and to close the loop. We saw the community, how you can get started using extension today by going to the gallery. So I hope now today you are excited and you are going to use extensions. We planned this session to have a lot of Q&A time because I know that you have a lot of questions because it's a new feature, so feel free to ask us as many questions as you want. So question time. So the question was any extensions that can send emails, dashboard by emails. Not I'm aware of, but because they are using the subscribe application in Tableau right now. But you can create one.
Yep.
Is there any way in the desktop tool we can disable them? So we have a large self-service community, and we make the product available in a shared folder, if you will. Is there any way that I can edit the installation file to disable that? I don't, we're a medical organization. We have a lot of HIPAA concerns. I don't want people playing with extensions in certain cases and causing sensitive data to leak. Is there any way to disable that?
So you want to disable extension from your server?
On desktop.
On desktop.
Some of the desktop is the installation, the binary itself.
From the desktop, we can talk about it later. Yes, it's a way you can.
Yeah, come see us after.
Yes.
You mentioned the risk about the extensions with an open web application. What about being HIPAA compliant with the risk with that?
So the question about the risk of using extension, how we work with the risk. So right now is depending on the developer. It's the person that created the extension that is handling that. So it's why you can also work with the partners to have your own compliance or your own rules, set of rules. So that will be my advice. Sir? Yeah.
Are any of these extensions open source that, a medical company can post it on their own private?
So the question was, I have some extension open source. Yes. You can go on GitHub. So we have some extension already available that you can download. And after, if you are one that you're really interested in, you can go and reach out to the developer so you can have a conversation about hosting it behind your firewall.
And the extensions by Tableau are currently not open source on GitHub, but that's coming in the next few months.
I know.
Do you have a timeline for the printing?
Do we have a timeline for the printing? Not that
No,
I'm
we do
aware
not.
of. Yes.
Is there any latency with multiple extensions on a dashboard? I noticed you only have one on each one of the examples, but if you were to combine right back with some kind of navigation or something, have you seen any issues between?
The question is, do we see any issue by combining different extensions on the dashboards? No, you can combine as many as you want. go crazy.
Maybe not crazy.
No? Okay, yeah.
What version of Tableau will I see this available?
18.2.
Yeah, over here.
Yeah, so for the extensions of the gallery, if you subscribe to the code for security, you guarantee the security of those extensions
So
in the gallery.
the question is, do we work with the developer basically before putting an extension of a gallery?
Sure, the security.
So it's a good question. We are working on it right now. So yes, we are working. We are working on it to make it more secure.
Right.
Eh,
There are certain extensions that require APIs or licenses. Is that true?
What
The
do you mean by that?
question is, do we need a license or specific license for using our APIs? No, it's free. If you are a Tableau customer, and even if you are, have you heard of a developer program? They announced it at the keynote. Even if you are not a Tableau customers and you want to play with our APIs, you can subscribe to the developer program and have access to one pod of Tableau Online just to play with our APIs.
In the back?
Do you require any developers to sign or apply certificates to their extensions before they can go into the extension website?
So the question is, are we doing any contract between the developer and Tableau? For,
We're like requiring them to sign them with a security certificate. That way you can be sure that nothing has changed.
the question is, do we sign a contract or be sure that nothing is changing with the developer? We sign a contract. I don't have much details about the contract itself, but if you want, we can talk about it later, and I can give you the email address of the person in charge.
Yeah.
Not a contract. It's just like now, if you're going to do something with Apple, you have to apply a security certificate to the extension before they will set it so that they know it's valid.
It is required to use HTTPS. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right here.
If I want to decode the code behind the parent part, so go through the code what they have to trust them.
So the,
Here you can do that.
Right, so that's completely dependent on the extension developer if
What
they're
was the
willing.
question?
Oh, sorry. He's asking about verifying the safety of an extension, actually looking at the source code. So that's completely dependent on the extension developer and whether or not they're willing to share code.
So what if you say Tableau, there are like
The
owned by Tableau in the public memory?
right, so he's asking about the ones by Tableau specifically. Those ones are currently not on GitHub, but they are coming in the next few months. Right here. Can you repeat that? Right. So the question is, the write-back extension, does that update an extract or a data source? So the write-back extension that's currently on the gallery, that one is by Expand IT, and it actually only works with Google Sheets. That's just something that they developed and wanted to show off as kind of a demo of what write-back could do. But there's a ton of potential there for a developer to create any kind of write-back extension that really works with any kind of data source. Build write-back diagram? I'm not sure about that. If you want to give me your contact information, I could get you an answer. The question was, does it write back to Hyper?
yes.
So these extensions are hosted on developer server elsewhere, right? So it's safe to assume that they could choose to stop supporting it at some point. The extensions in your own gallery, do you have an mentioned contract? Is there a certain you have a certain duration that you have to have them support in order to publish, or is it just something developers they can stop?
So right now, the question was like, do we do?
Do you mandate a certain, or do you have a contract for a certain duration? that
So,
you support the extension?
Okay, do we have a contract for support extension? So as we saw earlier, that when you publish an extension, when you have an extension, you know who developed it. So you can always reach out to a person and be in touch and say, oh, your extension is not working anymore. So you can also always reach out to the person in charge. Any other question? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.